Also on Judge Kavanaugh's schedule today, Senator Claire McCaskill, a red state Democrat in a tough re-election fight who faces mounting pressure from anti-abortion advocates to confirm that conservative judge. I traveled to Missouri to meet with them. They think 45 years after Roe v. Wade, this could be their moment. In southern Missouri, the T-shirts tell the story. I vote pro-life. Outside Senator Claire McCaskill's office, activists are sending her a message.
I'm very proud to be here with the pro-life generation.
And this Supreme Court fight is just step one for the Susan B. Anthony list, a group that's been fighting abortion for 25 years.
We don't like abortion. We hate abortion.
Their ultimate goal? To overturn Roe v. Wade, or at least effectively gut Roe by passing state laws that, for example, restrict late-term abortions or require parental consent. So these activists aren't stopping at Claire McCaskill's door. They've held rallies at Joe Donnelly's office in Indianapolis, Heidi Heitkamp's in Fargo. 29 rallies in all, targeting 7 Senate Democrats in states won by Donald Trump. This is what people who are opposed to Roe v. Wade have been waiting for. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I think that, we have an incredible opportunity here to put a justice on the court who could potentially turn the tide of the court and open up the possibility of the states really being able to pass legislation that is reflective of the values of that state.
They're sending 500 canvassers into the streets.
Right here.
Armed with lists of voters who likely support their cause, but usually don't vote in midterm elections. How much is this issue a part of your vote?
The whole abortion issue, it's a lot. That is something that my wife and I both are against.
They visited 1.4 million homes so far, with a goal of 2 million by November. And while they're paid $10 an hour, sitting around a kitchen counter, it's clear they're not motivated by money, but deeply held religious beliefs. You're all church going?
Yes. This seems to be a moment where people are recognizing that there's a lot of Americans who are pro-life.
Are you more optimistic than you've ever been?
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This is the time.
A lot of hope. Honestly, for me, when I voted, I cast my ballot for Donald Trump, and he became president.
Polls show majority of Americans are for the right for a woman to choose. What do you say to them?
Polls lie.
That's not what we found at all.
And back outside canvassing, 45 years after Roe v. Wade became law.
Kind of challenging sometimes. A lot of challenges, but it's worth it.
Optimism that their time has come.
Do you believe Senator Claire McCaskill should support Kavanaugh's confirmation to the Supreme Court?
Yes.
All right. That's a hopeful sign.
My panel's back to react. Susan Del Percio, Mark Thompson. Mark, what's interesting, of many things that's interesting to me, is that I talked to a lot of groups that I thought would be heavily involved on the left in this fight against Judge Kavanaugh, and privately many of them told me, we don't know that we can win this one. Has the left, from your perspective, ceded this to the right?
Well, I don't know about that. I hope not. I think there are two categories. There's the activism on the left, and then there are the Senate Democrats. I'm not sure that either has ceded. In fact, I'm still holding out for the extreme that no Democrats will vote for Kavanaugh, if necessary, even go so far as procedurally to break the quorum. I don't think people have ceded, but I think they know the odds that we're up against, because rarely is a Supreme Court nominee not confirmed. But it just so happens Kavanaugh is ranked, or his polling is right around where the last one we defeated was, and that was Bork, which was a big victory in the Reagan administration. Reagan, who is a Republican icon, we defeated him.
That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
And to sort of my anecdotal, and it's very anecdotal, phone calling, there's a new report that shows conservatives are vastly outspending liberals in the fight against Kavanaugh. On TV alone, conservatives have spent $7.5 million, liberals $1.3 million. Does money matter in this, Susan, or what?
Well, it does when you look at those 7 senators who are in Trump districts who are up for re-election, it does. And if they're putting a lot of pressure on through TV ads, that certainly can have a potential
TV
effect
ads, does the door-to-door matter? Because what they are looking at is these are people who we know are on our side, but they don't, we know that they generally don't vote in a midterm election. If we can get them out in those 7 states, we could really do something.
Yeah, and that's definitely part of the strategy, and that makes a lot of sense to do that. Plus, you also see that happening when you see the door-to-door. That's a lot to bring to a candidate, so they can look at it and assess it. But I think at the end of the day, Kavanaugh will get confirmed, and that shows that elections have consequences. And just as there were Democratic judges I didn't support, I supported Barack Obama's choice to make them. That's where we're at. And I know it's very disturbing for a lot of people on the left to hear, but Kavanaugh, most people will say he is a qualified jurist. You may not agree with his decisions, but it doesn't take his
qualifications. They would also say so is Merrick Garland.
I would agree with, and I would agree with that. And by the way, Elena Kagan was a qualified jurist. I didn't agree with her, but that doesn't take away the fact that she was a qualified jurist, much like Kavanaugh is.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.